Immigration is still a global issue that reveals racism, lack of collaboration, and shocking attitudes of political personalities and parties. We will see how men and women can take benefit of the dramatic situation of some refugees in order to gain success and power. But before this, we'll have to understand why and how people migrate from a country to another. There are three main reasons why people migrate today: global warming, war, and poverty. Here is a map of Africa showing which countries in the continent are in war and which are in a major lack of resources such as water. As you can see, there are numerous countries today which are in extreme situations, which forces populations who are desperate to migrate, especially towards Europe. We have studied three countries which represent an important percentage of the global migration today, the first one being Syria. Syria has been in a major civil war since 2011. Because of the brainwashing and the operations led by ISIL, Daesh in French, 600,000 people lost their lives, 11 millions were displaced, and 13.4 millions are in need of humanitarian assistance. People who migrate from Syria to save their own lives are called war refugees. However, we also studied the case of Togo. Togo is a victim of climatic issues. Lately, the ocean has been gaining territory and has caused oil to destroy the environment of the country. In 2015, 276,000 people migrated from Togo, escaping the dangerous floods. People who migrate from countries because of global warming are called climatic refugees. Eventually, we also studied a different type of migration. We took the example of Morocco. Morocco's economy has been drastically declining over the last 10 years. Meanwhile, the idea of a rich and healthy Europe has been spread in the country, which encouraged Moroccans to migrate towards Spain, Italy, France, United Kingdom, and Germany. According to the Migration Policy Institute, over 2 million of Moroccans live in Western Europe today. Morocco became a hub, a transit of migration from Africa towards Europe. Because it offers a very simple route towards Spain, all populations who are in hope of finding a better economy in Europe and a better life join Morocco first to join Europe. Finding money and courage to be able to leave your country is already really hard. But the journey to join another country is even worse. According to the UN Migration Agency, more than 4,470 migrants lost their lives along migration routes in 2021. Let's see how Europe reacts to the massive immigration in the world at the moment. Let's first take the example of Italy. According to usnews.com, in the rankings of the best welcoming countries of the world, Italy is placed at the 10th place. In Europe, Italy is known to be a very welcoming country in favor of immigration, and that sets up policies to be able to offer welfare to populations escaping war, violence, and poverty. However, the Italian government has to control the constant flows of migrants arriving. The lack of collaboration and communication causes disorder in the country. Sergio Mattarella, the Italian president, has been calling since 2021 for dialogue and action. Europe and Africa are called upon to do more. But today, racism and xenophobism in Italy are starting to emerge again through extreme candidates and parties such as Matteo Salvini. Matteo Salvini is the leader of an extreme right-wing anti-immigration and Eurosceptic party in Italy. He has been the Minister of Domestic Affairs in the country from June 2018 to September 2019. He thrives to stop completely immigration in Italy. He disrespects EU policies and has installed a new nativist anti-immigration dynamic in the country. His anti-immigration league, the Liga, has jumped from 4% of the votes in 2013 to about 18% then to 30% in 2018. He became one of the most popular politicians in Italy thanks to social media. He uses social media such as Facebook to publish extreme videos in which he criticizes explicitly his own country by conveying the idea that Italy has been stolen by migrants and that the left is trying to welcome migrants to make them slaves of the country. But Italy is not the only country starting to move away and to challenge the principles, the policies of the European Union. Because of the dictatorship led by Lukashenko in Belarus and the war in Ukraine, numerous people have been forced to migrate towards Poland. As a country in the EU, Poland is supposed to be respecting treaties concerning human rights and equality for all populations. But as we have seen in the latest news, Poland is blamed by other governments and by the majority of its own population to be a racist government. Recently, hundreds of black students who were fleeing the war in Ukraine claimed to have been refused at the border of Poland because they were black. Last but not least, we studied France, our country, to show and to prove that racism, Euroscepticism, anti-immigration are emerging again in Europe. Because the opinion of the population is what it is all about, we started by interviewing Sylvain, a young French citizen. What is your point of view on the French migration policy?
On en accueille beaucoup des migrants, mais on ne sait pas comment les aider ni les gérer. Il y a un mauvais aménagement en France et les politiques s'en servent souvent pour dire qu'on en accueille trop.
Do you think Eric Zemmour is right when he evokes this argument? Delinquency is mainly caused by migrants in France.
Certes, il y a un manque d'activité pour les nouveaux arrivants en France qui fait qu'ils peuvent être plus tentés par la délinquance car ils n'ont aucun autre moyen de gagner de l'argent, mais dire que la délinquance est causée principalement par les migrants est faux. Je suis en désaccord total avec cet argument.
Being in an international school, most people we know are in favor of multiculturalism and of having multiple ethnies in our country. But it is not the case everywhere in France. In the recent elections, 30% of the French population voted for two extreme right-wing candidates. The first one being Marine Le Pen. Before the arrival of Eric Zemmour, she was supposed to be the extreme right-wing candidate in France. Eric Zemmour is a well-known polemicist in France. He is known especially because he is racist, homophobic, and Eurosceptic. He became even more famous when he announced he was going to be a candidate of the presidential elections in France in 2022. He got up to 18% of the vote's intentions, according to Ipsos. We studied the populist candidate precisely, and we will show why the attitude of this man is unacceptable. Despite migrants' hope and admiration in our wealthy providing opportunities, peaceful and jobful countries, these men, politicians, play with the migrants' lives, regulating human flows depending on the country's needs. Zemmour is fine when migrants work as garbage collectors and, more globally speaking, unwanted jobs. Yet he doesn't want too many migrants in the country, as they use France's healthcare system's money. This happened in the 1970s when France provided jobs for migrants to build infrastructures in a post-war crisis. Migrants are welcome only when workforce is needed. We will now analyze Eric Zemmour's campaign to show how he persuaded so many people to vote for him. As we can see, his logo mainly uses France's national colors. It suggests he is a real and legitimate candidate. It justifies his position. Therefore, people are ready to listen to him and would maybe accept him as a political leader. But Eric Zemmour also provides statistics, which means facts. It means evidence, and it means why not believe what he says. Eric Zemmour manages to persuade a lot of people because his technique is logical. He gives important statistics, such as the podium of to which countries France gave the most titres de séjour. People understand where the threat comes from. they think they understand the source of the issue, and they think they understand that migrants cost money and that they are illegal. And this is how, with poor, incomplete evidence, the candidate comes to the conclusion that immigration should be stopped because it attacks the citizens' identity. Our second goal is to show that immigration is an important discussion to have at small and large scales as it is due to climate change, becoming a serious issue because more migrants are fleeing from southern countries to northern countries. Also, this absurd way of dealing with immigration divides people inside a country and between countries, for example, Brexit. Solidarity isn't promoted with some candidates like Eric Zemmour. As we can see the strengthening of a selfish anti-immigration and extreme ideology in various states, we can imagine the worst. With climate change getting worse, more and more people are going to have to abandon their countries to join richer places. And if the situation wasn't dramatic in the past 20 years, it was thanks to the European Union and to the help provided by democracies such as Germany, who has welcomed more migrants than any other country in 2018, or thanks to France, Italy, etc. Unfortunately, with the Brexit and the fear of losing identity which has emerged again with Eric Zemmour's campaign in France, collaboration, organization, and the simple will to help other populations in need has decreased severely in Europe. If the rich countries do not help the poorer ones, and if they choose not to benefit from what makes a nation stronger, having multiple ethnies, then the world is going towards chaos. More and more people in need will be trapped in their situation, either by war or by floods, heat, poverty. This will lead to many deaths, and politicians who thrive to exclude foreigners from their countries will try to close their eyes to ignore that because of their action, because we are destroying the planet with our wish to be richer, the world is simply dying. Immigration is directly linked to climate change. We can act on that side. Eventually, this brings us to our conclusion. We cannot support any of those men and women who use the suffering of other people to gain in popularity, who destroy our planet, who annihilate solidarity and help between different people. Why? Simply to have more power.